Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome back to day 39 of our F125 Wet Hot Lap and Setup series. Yes, today we return here to the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for the Canadian Grand Prix. Of course, this track, it's hosted quite a few wet races before. It's not something that is unlikely to happen either inside F125, so hopefully, yeah, this wet setup is going to come in handy a lot more than, say, a Jeddah or a Bahrain might do inside this game. But of course, if you're new to this series and don't know what this is all about, we basically go through, I present you guys with a race-ready setup inside F125. I talk you around the circuit, what gears you want to be looking for, what braking points you want to be aiming for as well, and then last but not least, I leave you with a hot lap. As always, timestamps will be linked down below if you just want to head to a certain part of the video. A massive thank you to everybody for their continued support on the channel as well. We're trying to hit 15k subs at the moment, so if these videos are helpful, please do make sure you hit that sub button and leave a like as well. But yeah, without further ado then, let's head out onto the circuit. This one, I must admit, very, very good fun when you get it nailed. Well, making our way then down in towards the final chicane, getting ready to start a lap here from Montreal. Then nice and tidy through the final chicane. Avoid that exit curb. I'm going to say that a lot around the course of this lap then. All the way up into 7th gear as we make our way down in towards turn 1. You want to bring the car over to the right-hand side. I like to brake just as you get to kind of, you can see the 100-meter board, just as you get to kind of the start of this concrete runoff area. That is where I like to get on the anchors. Nice and tidy, avoid front locking, and really try to attack the curb through the inside of turn 1. All the way down into 3rd gear, allow the car to run nice and tidily into turn 2. I like to go all the way down to 2nd, and then really kind of allow the car to run a bit wide through the first part. You really want to try and V turn 2, so straight line in. Get most of the braking and the rotation done, nice and straight line on the exit of the corner as well. Then as we try and get the power down, you're going to short shift up through 3rd, 4th and even 5th gear before you full throttle. And then we are all the way up to 6th by the time we get in towards turn 3. 100-meter board, just after that, you're going to be getting on the anchors. Of course, turn 3 here, really, really difficult to spot the braking point for, but just try and get the car rotated in nice and tidy. Attack as much of the inside curb as you can, and do the same through the exit as well, being very, very careful on that loud pedal there. Short shift up through 4th and 5th gear, and then you're going to keep it wide open through this next turn. Up in 6th gear, don't bother shifting up to 7th. You're going to be aiming for the 100-meter board on the outside. As soon as you get past that, all the way down into 3rd gear, you can go lower, but ultimately I find it's a bit more difficult to get the power down. Really attack this first curb. Try to use a little bit of the second curb as well, and then as you try and get the throttle down on the exit, back up through 4th gear, and then once again, once you're in 5th, you get full throttle there. Be really careful to avoid that outside curb though, just because it can really throw off the line. 7th gear once again as you make your way down in towards this final sector of the lap. As always, you want to be avoiding that wall under the tunnel, but brake just as you go onto it. Nice and tidy on the brakes once again. Really trying to attack this first curb. Track limits through here are absolutely brutal. 3rd gear on the entry, and then try to really attack the curbing on the exit as well. Again, 4th gear on the exit. Avoid that outside curb, otherwise it would just give you a lot of wheel spin. So nice and tidy on the throttle as we make our way down in towards the final few corners. Then in towards the hairpin, you're going to be all the way up in 7th gear. Braking once again just at the end of that little tarmac strip on the left-hand side. Nice straight line braking all the way down to 2nd. The car's going to feel really, really sluggish through this hairpin. Don't run all the way up to the wall. You're much better off trying to get a straighter run on the exit of the corner. Again, by the time you're into 5th gear, you can be full throttle. And now we are just preparing ourselves for the final chicane on this lap then. Really, really easy to get it wrong. So tricky to get it right. You can be quite brave through the first apex curb. The game will allow you to get away with quite a lot of track limits. Brake just before the 100-meter board though. 3rd gear on the entry. Like I said, attack the first curb. Avoid the second one a little bit more though. Otherwise you will invalidate not only this lap, but also your next one. Careful of the wall of champions. I don't even go over the curb. It's just a bit slower as you try and again modulate the throttle on the exit. Full throttle back towards the line. Use the shortest run back towards the start-finish line. And that is going to be a lap then of the Montreal circuit. Like I said, it's one that once you get into a rhythm on this game isn't too difficult, but it is just about being super precise, avoiding curbs, nailing apexes, and just avoiding wheel spin as well there. Anyway, let's head back to the pit lane, and I'll talk you guys through the setup. Well, having a look then at the setup figures here for the Canadian Grand Prix circuit, then 32.28 for your wing angle. Again, this circuit in the kind of the ground effect era hasn't ended up being as low downforce in the Formula 1 games as I think a lot of people would expect it to be. So 32.28 gives you good stability, allows you to rotate the car through the corners, but also still means you've got a fairly competitive package in a straight line. 100 on the on-throttle, 25 on the off-throttle diff. Again, where most of the traction zones here are fairly straight lines, you can afford to run a completely locked on-throttle diff. But again, you combat that with slightly more off-throttle unlocked diff as well. That just gives you a bit more stability as you're trying to slow down the car into the corners. Minus 3.4, minus 1.9, 0.01, and 0.12 for your camber and toe angles. I say it every time, it's completely standard inside F125. 3610 for your suspension, a bit more extreme than we've seen at recent circuits, but Montreal doesn't have too much elevation change. Most of the braking zones as well. There aren't many bumps to deal with around this circuit. 1015 on your anti-roll bars, again, a little bit firmer than what we've seen recently, and then 2451 for your ride heights as well there. Again, just allows you to attack those curbs, but doesn't create too much instability within the car as well. 55.98 for your brake pressure and bias. Again, as always, if you feel like you're struggling with locking the rear brakes into corners, move the bias 1 or 2 clicks forward and then start reducing brake pressure. If anything, actually, if I was in race trim, I might lower this to like 97 or 96, just because, as you'll see on our hot lap, we were locking up the fronts a little bit, but in a fairly controlled manner. Maxed out front PSIs, 22.8 on the rears. It should be a one-stop strategy if it's going to be full wet throughout, but of course, obviously, the intermediates, they are impossible to manage inside F125. Hopefully, this setup helps you out, though. If it does, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed. We will be back on Friday, back at the Austrian Grand Prix, won't we, over in the Styrian Hills. That's another circuit where I get a lot of wet racing inside F125. Like I said, though, hopefully this helps. If it does, drop that sub, and we'll be back very soon with more F125 setups.
Fantastic, you've got pole position.